Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Business Spotlight. I'm Scott McMeans with Action Coach. I'm here with Ed Kisiel from EKA Build Corp. We're going to get a chance to listen to Ed's story, talk about the homes he builds, how he builds them, the type of people he likes to work with, both clients and subcontractors and employees. It's going to be an interesting episode, so strap in. We're going to get a chance to learn a little bit from Ed. So before we get there, Ed, I want to turn the microphone over to you. Tell everybody your story. Introduce yourself if you would.
Wonderful. Yeah. My name is Edward Kisiel, and I'm a custom home builder. I work with my wife, Angelica, and we build custom homes in Northeast Ohio, mainly ranging from $1 million and up. It doesn't include the land costs, and that is we also do larger remodel projects and additions. We want to elevate the homes being built in Northeast Ohio from architecture to interior design. We don't want to build the same old types of homes in the same way that everyone has been doing it. There's a lot of technology out there, a lot of great products out there that we like to utilize in building science. We are customer driven, and so customer driven builder. We want to listen to our customers actively and hearing the vision and doing what they want done. We do high quality work. We do high performance building. We love architecture. We want to work with great architects and designers building fun and complicated projects.
All right, so there's a little bit to go off here. So you made comment that the technology and the new systemized ways of building homes is different now than it's ever been, and that's something you really embrace, especially because you do in fact like architecture. You have a high performance process. What is so special about EKA Build Corp with respect to how you approach building a house versus what a traditional builder would do?
Yeah. So again, from the beginning, we want to do a kind of an entire we'd like to do a master planning of the entire thing to say, for example, obviously most people come to us for a remodeling project, finished basement. New home construction is kind of our main thing. But as we as we get into these things, we also want to ask the questions. Well, do you want to do a pool in the future? What kind of landscaping? And that could even be even landscaping in the sense of that. Okay, we want to do a garden in the back. We're not doing one now, but we're going to do it later. And we kind of phase these types of things, or even with interior design in the inside. That okay, hey, we want to do these types of things. We either the budget is restrictive right now, but let's plan for the future and to kind of think through these things. So that's as important for us that I would say that kind of makes us unique. We can do we work with all kinds of different architects, but we can also do it in house. And put together the team, and we can use all kinds of different companies and different designers involved with that.
It sounds awesome. Now, you have a different level of offering. I'm assuming you're going to remodel somebody's home, going to make an addition to somebody's home. You're going to build a brand new home. What's the kind of delineation between quality or craftsmanship in each one, or is it always going to be the same when you work with EKA?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, we'd like to do the same thing, but again, I think that we're open to be working on different types of homes, even some really old homes. So at that point, I mean, you are kind of limited to what you can do. But what we always want to do is to build a building science focused home, which that means that we're doing details that the home can last as long as possible. We're not trying to shortcut anything. We want to do the details. For example, even like just the simple kickout flashing. Like so my background is engineering, and so those little details are super important because that's just how I'm built. I think through, hey, not just right now, to say, maybe we can save 5 minutes or $5, but then further down the road, the client's getting screwed, 20 years down the road, that a simple kickout flashing, right where a wall and a roof connect, that 30 cents worth of metal and it's 5 minutes for my roofer to do it, that can save, $10,000 to $20,000 in damage down the road, which, most of the time I'm out of the picture or the builder's out of the picture. And that, so that, those types of things are really important. I mean, we really want to serve the client well. It's not just another project for us. We just, we don't want to take shortcuts. We want to do things that people expect also too. That they're like, if my, if we'd be building for their mom or their grandma and stuff like that, that you don't, they don't need to know all the details behind the scenes. We're going to treat them the same, as anybody else.
Yeah, I think if you really pay attention, or at least me, I'm paying attention to what you have to say, and it's, you're building a design detailed home, okay? But what that means is you're designing and building a home, not necessarily for today or tomorrow, but what the future holds, whether they're going to put in a different addition, a garden, a pool, what they're going to do with their basement. Those are all parts of it. But your mindset is taking care of the details that matter now for a 30+ year decision that they're making. And it's better off to make it right now than to try to fix it later on or skimp a corner when you can just do it all and have it done effectively now. So those are really good separations. I think that you're allowing what you do to shine now, but for 30, 40 years down the road, because that's what a home should be, is lasting.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's really easy to lines on a page are really inexpensive. Maybe you do have to pay the architect a little bit more because, hey, we went through some revisions or this and that, but it is, like that, those are inexpensive costs to, later on, or, you're coming home and you're frustrated. It's like, why didn't we think about this more? Or why didn't my builder, tell me about this, type of thing. So really we want to, kind of think through these things. We want to do intentional design. That's important.
I love that comment, intentional design. And not to steal a contractor's phrasing, but you want to think through the corners, right?
Yeah.
You want to make sure that when you're making decisions that are impacting you now and down the road, that you're making the right decision. So I'm going to assume that your interaction with somebody building $1 million home is very comprehensive. And I'm assuming it's very detail oriented. So if you don't mind, walk us through not necessarily every detail or every question, but the process that you follow to kind of make somebody feel very comfortable with the decision to spend that much money to build a home.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a good point too. I mean, this is usually the most expensive decision that someone's going to make.
Mm-hmm.
We want them to feel comfortable. We don't want them to feel rushed or anything, or like they're making all their selections on one Saturday afternoon kind of thing, right? That hey, we're now going to live in this house for the next 20 or 30 years or more. So these types of things are important. I mean, we have a process in place, from the details. We have a decision file that ends up, kind of outlines what are the important decisions. But even before that, we'd like to include us with the architect, and as there's schematic design, as there's design that's happening, we're included on that, on the conversation, on the process. So we can say, again, lines on the page are also easy to draw. And then, once the budget,
Mm-hmm.
Or not necessarily even the budget there, but once the pricing happens, then it's like, oh no, yeah, we're way over. And they, either that they're, the client's getting, a bunch of bids from other builders and stuff like that. And they're, they have to redesign, a lot, the big portion of their home. So that's where it's important to have the builder involved in the design phase. And just, again, as I mentioned before, kind of to do a overall, even a phasing of design, through the project, no matter how small it is, and to kind of get, hey, let's think about this all together, and see where you want to go. Hey, this is what we're going to do now, but we may do this, or we may do this in the future, and let's set those things up, because honestly, sometimes it's actually super easy just to do things and line things up in the beginning. And then obviously, yes, anything can take place. And, people do remodeling jobs all the time and projects, But if you know that, or even if you thought through 5 to 10 minutes, sometimes it takes, like, you know what, we may do that. We don't know exactly how it's going to be, but we know we need to put, even the plumbing here, kind of thing, so.
Right. Well, the idea of the entire master plan and taking all these details into consideration up front is very analogous to how to operate a business, right? So this is kind of, I'm going to steer a little bit away from the actual customer interaction, because what I like about what you present is a very collaborative approach to your customer and a very collaborative approach to building something with them. And as a guy that owns a business, I would assume there's a lot that goes in line with that collaborative approach with the subcontractors, your partner, Angelica, right? And some of the architects you work with. So you, as a touch point for everybody, there's a lot of pressure on you, right? Because
Yeah.
you're touching base with the architect, the subcontractor, the plumber, the roofer, all that stuff, right? And then you have to go tell the customer what's going on and give them information. So how do you hold that together as a head of a business like EKA Build? How do you do that?
That's a good question. So yeah, I mean, just mainly I would say from experience, and then also mistakes, I guess. We've been unfortunate that we haven't made anything where it's where things happen really bad, but a lot of experience. I actually grew up in the home building business. My dad started in 1986. And so that helped even from a young age. I was just in it all the time and saw things, and so a lot of the things that either other builders seeing, the mistakes that have been made, or or even my own dad, or one of the things is to be listening to the client. And honestly, what's important is that mistakes are made. We all make mistakes. We're human. But honestly, what's important is how you respond to those things. So,
Yeah.
We want to, make sure that the client feels and knows that we are in the best interest of them, and not, even sometimes when it hurts us as a business, we still want to approach it that we're still going for their best interest. So, as far as, and then, kind of tying all the trades together, we're always trying to have, the best trades. A lot of our trades we've been with for a long time, and there's always a process with that too. Some of the trades maybe we don't use anymore, and mainly because they're not doing what we wanted them to do, or there's just frustration there, there's friction there, just working with them, or a lot of times it's just a quality thing. So we're doing a step up in quality that they're not. And again, we're willing that for them to grow with us. But if they're not willing to do a high quality job, then we're not going to be working with them. So
That, I think, Ed, is the epitome of what a successful business does, right? You use an interesting word: no friction between you and your employees, or you and your subcontractors.
yeah.
You won't accept bad quality, and you want somebody that's willing to grow. Those are three pretty sound reasons why you're successful. Is you don't put up with any bull crap. You only
Try
focus on the things that make
try not
sense,
to.
right? No, I mean, but
Yeah.
here's the thing, and what I'm going to write down is an interesting word that I think a lot of people really need to pay attention to when they're not only establishing their business, but their relationships with their clients and their partners, whether they be vendors or subcontractors, is standards. We we at EKA Build have standards, and if you don't meet those standards and you cause friction and you're not willing to change and grow with us, I can't work with you because you're dragging me down, right? And if you, again, pull that out and say, if I have employees that are bad apples, they don't necessarily want to learn or grow, why
Yeah.
are you hanging on to them? And I think a lot of business owners can learn from this lesson, which is don't allow things that you can control to be the albatross that you have to carry, or the anchor you're dragging, when you can simply control the narrative and say, we don't have that in this because it's not our standard. That's a solid piece of advice, and that's good. And again, you made comment about learning from your mistakes, and it's not necessarily what you learn, but how you interact with a client to let them know a mistake took place. This is what we're doing. It's in your best interest. There's a lot of really good business lessons here, not only from a customer service perspective, but how you deal with a client, or excuse me, an employee because they're not fitting the narrative that you want to present, which is we are a high standard, high quality organization. And I think a lot of people could do really well by cutting ties with people that cause too much friction.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So let me ask you about, not everything has been roses, not everything has been sunshine, I would assume, right? Because every business goes through this.
Yeah.
So what's the one lesson that you would think, Ed, is something that other people can learn from? Like what did you learn, and how would you present that to a new business owner?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things is that when I'm, when I talk with anyone, so clients, but then also, you hear about either just any kind of business interaction with somebody else, like to listen to the client and hear what they're saying. And one of the things is that like that's important, I guess, that not depending on what business it is, it really depends on on how the client the client is speaking about that type of thing. So with home building, I mean, we want to hear the vision of the client, but then we also want to hear pain points that either they've interacted with other contractors. I mean, one of the things that we're we want to fight the negative connotation with home builders. And so, I mean, we have heard really bad horror stories from home building, and I would say I would say pretty much all of all of our clients, they can honestly say that it hasn't been a terrible process. It hasn't been a horrible experience, and that's super important for us. So again, what lessons learned, I would say, is that we're always trying to learn. We're always trying to listen to the clients. We want to manage the client's expectations. So, for example, we're not building a car here where we have we're stamping or whatever it may be, like manufacturing. Like I make this point to some clients that we can make a one part perfect, right? So we're doing that they're stamping out this car or these machine parts, right? That are being stamped out, making one part 1,000 times. We're doing the opposite. We're taking millions of parts and we're literally doing it one time. So as far as that, to manage the expectations that the project is not going to be perfect. We do a really great high quality job. I mean, there's usually most of the time we are actually pickier than our clients as far as finishes and those types of things. And so I guess that's lessons learned is to be a better listener.
I love that, and I think you're not. I like what you said. You're not perfect, but you're driven to be perfect by the way you interact with the mistakes or any other issues you have, because the customer is always in there, right, in your best interest. So the fact that you may not do something perfectly, the idea that you're driven to find that level of perfection in that person's custom home is what makes the difference.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
huge.
it's construction, right? It has to get worse before it gets better. I mean, when you start with excavation and you're doing utilities. I mean, it's messy. There's muddy. We're in Northeast Ohio, right? There's not really great conditions all the time, and then through the process, I mean, we keep a clean site, for sure, with all kinds of things. But again, we're building something. It's dusty. It's dirty. Things usually have to get worse before they get better. But as they continue to get finished and cleaned up, it really comes out well. And
I love the
we really
idea.
love doing it.
Well, it comes through that you love doing it, because I think if you didn't, you wouldn't have such passion in your eyes, and when you're trying to talk about this stuff, it comes through that you know what you're doing. I would like to ask, what is the biggest challenge you have right now? I mean, great lessons learned, but what is the biggest challenge in your business or your industry right now, and how you handling that?
So the just blanket statement. I mean, the biggest challenge right now, kind of, the market kind of shifted. As far as with, we were not doing any remodeling and any like additions before. We're actually turning work away, and just focusing on new construction, and that kind of changed. And of course, that has to do with the election coming up and those types of things, and then obviously interest rates. So
Mhm.
people are kind of they're still moving projects forward, or they're maybe just stalling for a little bit, and that's kind of normal. So that's I think that's with a lot of businesses, not just home building, but there's been a little bit of a slowdown with that. And so again, we've always done remodeling, and again, that's one of the things that even so with remodeling, even I would say planning and process is even more important than new construction, because there's a lot of give and take during new construction where, hey, this is not done, or this doesn't happen at this point. Well, the trades are coming back anyway. So there's just a lot more, I would say slop in the schedule and timing wise, whereas remodeling that just, can't take place.
Well, and I would think too, you're dealing with an existing structure. I mean, I've been told many times it's easier to just knock that down and build a brand new place than it is to redo what's there, because
A lot of times,
the
yeah.
the
Yep.
old yeah, the older designs aren't necessarily built for 30-foot spans and different designs for open, architecture that we like to have now. So
Yeah.
using an existing footing or foundation is a little bit difficult when you're trying to build a masterpiece. I
Right.
can't yeah, that's
Yeah.
gotta be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's the one piece of advice you'd wanna throw out, to a brand new entrepreneur and somebody who's starting a business? What's the one thing that you think would make a difference in their life?
Yeah, one of the things is to be able to focus on, like, to have passion for it, right? And then also just to be disciplined, just to keep plugging away. It's challenging, it's hard, it's not easy, for sure. But as you keep on working forward, you're always constantly learning. I mean, the thing is that if you think that you arrived, I mean, you're going to be mistaken,
Yeah.
and you're not going to be able to figure everything out, because not only that, you're always trying to get better at your own, for example, home building, the craft of it, right? But then you're also working with different clients, and then also you have a different market, right? So there's all these
Mhm.
things that are happening, and then you may, and then there's all just so many different niches that you can get involved with. And every business is different, every business dynamic is different. They can bring different things to the table. But yeah, just you know discipline, and just keep plugging away. That's one of the
Love it.
things that I would say would would help you the most. Yeah, it's not an overnight thing. I mean, sometimes you see people that
Yeah.
maybe there's an overnight success, and that's just not the case. I mean, there's really a lot of work that has to be put in. There's maybe few and far between that it does happen, and I'm not saying that it doesn't, but either way, there's always maybe even from their childhood, there's always a tremendous amount of work that has been
Mhm.
put in place.
Well, I think every overnight success has got 5 to 10 years of backstory that nobody saw
Yeah,
or read until they
yeah,
became a success.
yes,
So, yeah. I love the idea of passionate, discipline, keep plugging away. And the last one that you mentioned was constant learning. I think when you feel as if you've made it, okay, that's one plateau that you reached. There's
hmm
so many more steps on your way to whatever you want to climb yourself to, but always constant learning is what's going to happen to make you a better person, better business person. Matter of fact, we have 7 keys to a winning team, and one of the keys is constant learning and being a leader that's willing to learn themselves and pass that learning on to their team is a big part of being a great leader. But it also sets the example of, I expect you as my teammates to constantly want to find new ways to do things, so therefore we can conquer this differently. I
yeah,
love the idea of constant learning because that's what I do, right? I'm trying to convince people to stop thinking so myopically about what they have in front of them, but look at it as a holistic opportunity to collaborate with new learnings and change the way they do things. I think it's awesome. And this really ties into everything you've talked about because you have such a diverse approach to what you do. I mean, I'm not a builder. I don't know all the things you deal with, but I just think about You made comment about, all right, I got a guy who throws a hammer, a guy that runs lines, a guy that runs plumbing, and then I've got a roofer. I've foundation guy, I got concrete guys, I got tile guys. Like, how do you manage all those spinning plates? And it's because you have a very strong executable process that you start with, and
Yeah.
you make room for collaborative adjustments along the way. That is a perfect definition of how a business should operate, at least as far as I'm concerned, right?
Yeah.
It should operate on its own without you having to be there. And when you put in processes that make that work, man, it makes life a lot easier and a lot more fun to be a part of that process, right? Because you
Yeah,
can
for
step
sure.
in when need to,
Yes.
step back and let it work. So I appreciate it.
Yeah,
And
especially like with one of the things is that with when you're building a home, designing a home, I mean there's one of the things is like decision fatigue. So we want to have a smooth process that's there and it's easier for the client because I mean there's thousands of decisions, and so the other reason that we want to work closely with them from the beginning is that we want to get to know them and see what's important to them in their life, that there's definitely things that we can probably flush out that basically we wouldn't necessarily have to ask them a question about it because we already know. Oh yeah, this is going to be important to them, or this is not going to be important to them. So again, when you're making thousands of decisions, that helps with the decision fatigue.
yeah, no, I like that. I've never heard decision fatigue, but it's coming from a guy who built a
Yeah.
home many years ago. Oh, I cannot look at another color sample. I cannot look at another carpet sample, right? There's a lot to it. And yeah, I appreciate the decision fatigue comment. Last question. If you were to go into a time machine and sit down next to an 18-year-old Ed Kisiel, what would you say to him?
Wow, that's a good question. Yeah, let me think about that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean there's probably a lot of different things. Probably one of the things, as I mentioned before, is to kind of get some of this process down to document things, put in systems in place, hire people that are they're reliable and they're willing to help you, and don't put everything on your shoulders, I guess. Yeah, just you
I love
can't
that.
I mean, at a point and at the beginning of a company, obviously, you're going to wear a lot of hats, but there is, yeah, I mean, there's keep people out there to help you. So that's probably one of the things. Yeah, that just,
Good one.
yeah,
That's a good one because I think we all try to be everything to everybody as a business owner, and we fail to recognize we're not doing justice because we think we can do everything.
yeah,
If you have good people in your circle, let them help you because that's the
yeah,
best way to get your business off the ground. And this has been great, and I really appreciate you spending time with us today and explaining what's so special about EKA Build, explaining to us how your process works, and explaining the value of what you bring to the table compared to any other builder out there that can build you a home.
yeah.
It seems like people need to talk to you. So every bit of information that somebody would need to talk to will be in the description down below. I encourage everybody to get a hold of Ed, pick his brain, let him build you a
Yep.
beautiful home.
Yeah. One of the things I guess I think maybe I touched on, but it's also a differentiator with us. We do high performance homes, and
Yeah,
so basically what that means is that they are comfortable homes, long lasting, and energy efficient. We build them as tight as possible, and then we ventilate them. We bring in fresh air, for that. And again, the focus is comfort of the client, and a byproduct of that is energy efficiency. So that's one of the things that we do. We use insulated panels on the outside of the walls, that basically create a thermal break from the studs, from the outside, to the studs and to the inside of the home. So it's nice and comfy and cozy on the inside. So
perfect.
one of those things that I would say I learned is the listening to clients and hearing their pain points. One of the biggest pain points that we hear, I would say, maybe surprisingly, but not surprisingly, is just the HVAC, like, in the home. So that's another point that we really hit hard as far as to be able to design a great HVAC system for the clients. That most builders they're just not doing it. They're just doing the regular load calculation. We're designing the system that could be really have great control and great temperature balance throughout the home. So that's another thing I just wanted to
No, Ed, I
put that out
appreciate
there,
it.
and that's a strong suit for us as well.
Yeah, you mentioned the comment earlier about high performance homes, but we didn't touch on it. And I think if people are paying attention to what you just said, a little bit of attention and effort financially and construction to do it right up front, not only saves you a bunch of money, but makes sure your comfort is exactly what you were expecting out of the home. So that's a big piece. I appreciate the clarification.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. We'll talk to everybody soon on the next episode of the Business Spotlight.